In the live stream, low key went live for like 9 seconds, accidentally dropped a curse word. Know that YouTube doesn't like that and ended it and restarted it in the live stream. It's fine in the live stream. Don't worry about it in the live stream. It's great in the live stream. In the live stream. Talking about the steps and the things and the steps and the things and the God and the not God. Is there a God? If there's not a God, what's the point in all of this? Why is there something instead of nothing? What's the purpose of life? What are morals without God? Just what's the point? All the cosmos, dancing about in the universe, but there's no God. So it's just like what's the point? What's the point in the all? What's the point in all of it? Where's the reason? Where's the purpose? Where's the morals? What does it matter? Smokey, what does it matter? Smokey, what does it matter without a God? What does any of it matter? Why did you eat your food this evening when I fed you? Why would you eat it? You're gonna die one day and it's all gonna come to nothing, so why eat the food? It doesn't even matter. Hello. What's the point? What's the point? What's the point in all of this? There's nothing. There's no point if there's no God. Surely there's no point. Why do I even own a cat if there's not a God? She's just like, all right, I'm done with you. Dad's having an existential crisis. I'm out. I imagine, like, if your kid walks in and you just give them that whole, like, what's the point without a God? There's nothing wrong in a ceasefire. I imagine they'd probably leave too. Smokey, don't you realize you must convert quickly lest the fires of hell wretch open your soul? Yes, indeed, unless she doesn't have one, because she's a cat. I had a religion teacher back at school who had cats. She always liked having cats. She loved cats. She always had cats. And when they died, she like wouldn't care. She would just go buy another one. She wouldn't really care because she's like, they don't have souls. So they're just like kind of whatever. Like they didn't matter to her. Like she likes cats and she keeps them, but she's like when they died, she had no emotional attachment or anything. She's like, they're just like soulless animals, so it doesn't even matter. It's your birthday today? You can get a birthday wish? Absolutely, you can get a birthday wish. Happy birthday. It's like, I don't know, man. It's just like, don't have cats. Like, that's just a wild thing. So I guess if there's no soul or anything, I guess it doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter, according to that religion teacher. It only matters. There's only a value. There's only a reason to mourn if there's no soul. Because like without a God, what's the point? What's the point at all? Smokey, what's the point? Are you ready to have more existential dread with me? I said that word wrong, but I hope you love me anyway. Where'd you go? Like, whatever, Dad. Just as long as I get pets. I don't care. Grand purpose. Without a God. Why is there something instead of nothing? What's the purpose of it all? What's the objective reason? I don't think there is one. I think there's something instead of nothing because that's just kind of what happened. As far as we know, this is the only way it could have happened. Happy early birthday. As far as we know, this is the only thing that could have happened. We don't have other universes to compare this one to determine how things could have been different. And if things were different and life would have still arisen, that life would have been like, oh, how did it arise so perfectly, even though it's different from what we deem to be perfect? But we don't even know if that's possible. We don't know anything. But if if it's about what the purpose in each of our lives are, it's kind of whatever we decide it is. It's subjective. You get to make your own purpose. There's no grand scheme, plan, whatever objective purpose without some kind of God or supernatural entity driving everything. Jesus would be disappointed to hear that empathy is exclusively and only permitted for creatures with souls. Yeah. Do aliens exist? I don't know. I'd like to think so. Smokey looks unfathomably soft. She's pretty soft. She's a pretty soft baby. I'm glad that she likes cuddles, because the first couple years we had her, she didn't. I don't know if she was still fairly young when we got her. I don't know what she went through at her previous house, but she didn't really like being touched or physical affection. Kind of took her a while to come around. She would rub up on us from a foot away, but now she comes and cuddles. She kind of still has some boundaries in there, so just kind of got to be careful. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the vastness of space and just how many stars and galaxies and whatnot there are, and therefore how many planets there must be, and look at the fact that the things necessary for life seem to be everywhere, it would be a shock to me if aliens didn't exist. But I don't know. With my cat, it was odd at first. He really liked cuddles, and then a few years didn't care too much anymore, and then later in life became even more cuddly. Cats be weird, yo. Cats be weird. But it's nice, not having an objective purpose. Not being told. Because especially in things like the Christian worldview, the purpose is to glorify God. That's... I can think of better purposes to live, to laugh, to love, being some of them. I actually have a sign. It's my first sign thing in my office, because my walls were pretty bare. I don't even know if you can see it. I'm going to break my tripod before I get there. There it is. But if you want a few purposes in life, live fully, create happiness, speak kindly, hug daily, smile often, hope more, laugh freely, seek truth, inspire change, and love deeply. If you need some purposes for life, those are some solid places to start, if you ask me. Hello. Live, laugh, love. Why not? Oh my God, no way you have a live, laugh, love. It's not a live, laugh, love poster. You're from India? Nice. I'm from Kansas. It's right in the middle of the United States. Nice to meet you. Glorify God with fake stories like Noah's grandfather lived 969 years or something like that. Live, laugh, love plus. I think that's a good one too. Nice to meet you. Because it's also just nice. People like to get into a really... I've never been to India, so I don't know anything about it. But it's cool that my videos made it to you. This live stream made it all the way to you. That's pretty cool. People like to say, well, if there's no God, then there's just no point. The craziest thing that people say is, well, why not just take your own life? What's the point in living if there's no God? Why don't you just take your own life if it doesn't matter, if nothing matters? That's a crazy take, because first off, wow. Just that's a crazy thing to tell anyone. But also, if there's no God or afterlife or anything, because we don't necessarily need a God for an afterlife or vice versa. But if there's no afterlife or anything, telling someone, oh, you might as well just die, is wild. This is the only existence that we know we're going to get, and your solution is to cut it short. That is a wild take. That is an absolutely ludicrously wild take. Just live, make the most out of this life, and make sure other people can do the same, because everybody else is human beings just like you. They have the same rights as you do. They should be given the same rights and freedoms as you do, and have a right to live a wonderful life, to live, laugh, and love just as much as you do. You're looking handsome. I don't believe you, but thank you. I don't watch movies because they just end, right? Right? Live, Laugh, Love is unbearably corny to most people, but it's legitimately just really wise. It felt a little corny saying it. I didn't like saying it, but it's true. Live, laugh, love are some great principles to go by. What do you base those rights on? We're humans. We're here. We are alive. We get to live. Especially if, the chances are so astronomically low that we could be here. Why would we waste any of that existence? Why shouldn't we want everyone to live life to the fullest and live this life to the best that we can in the limited time that we get? And especially not only taking care of your own rights and freedoms, but also taking care of others. Because it's a society. We're social creatures. Taking care of the society takes care of the people in the society, including yourself. So if we're all working together for the betterment of a society and the people in it, making sure people have those rights and freedoms, life just becomes more enjoyable overall for everyone. It's nice. So why not? I remember finding a meme where it was a badass Grim Reaper skeleton caption with Live, Laugh, Love, and that legitimately motivated me. Right. Why does our enjoyment of life matter? Do you like not enjoying life? Do you like enjoying life? Would you say overall enjoying life is a better experience than not enjoying life? I do have an Instagram. If you go to my profile, my description, you'll get all the links to my different everythings. It's just a generally agreed upon thing that life is more enjoyable when we enjoy it, and when it's enjoyable, and when we make it more enjoyable for others, including ourselves.
Oh.
Hey, Mama. We decide what matters. If you care about enjoyment, then it matters. Yeah. Generally, that seems like a good place to be, is enjoying life. I like enjoying life. But why would it not be moral for me to take everyone's life if that made life more enjoyable for me? This is hyperbole, not Dexter. I understand. Because it's not enjoyable for everyone. We're social creatures. You're not an island. Life isn't all about you. You are one of many human beings living on this planet, and they all have as much value as you. It's not all about you. And if you go around taking other people's lives, and you get enjoyment from that, you know what? Maybe that's good for you, but you're impeding on somebody else's life and somebody else's rights who have just as much rights and freedoms as you do. So we're going to have to lock you up because we can't have a society where that stuff is being infringed upon. Why do I have that value? Why do you have that value? See, there's no objective reason why. We've evolved to become some kind of higher social species that seem to be somewhat in charge of this planet. And we decide that we have value. Objectively speaking, I wouldn't say there's any value in anything, really. I wouldn't say there's any objective value of anything. Especially if, the whole universe is probably going to end someday. With how morality is subjective, if you legitimately only care about committing acts of murder and nothing else matters, there's nothing we can really say that you're living your life wrong. I'm sorry, one more time. With how morality is subjective, if you legitimately only care about committing acts of murder and nothing else matters, there's nothing we can really say that you're living your life wrong. I would say we can disagree and try to stop you, but as it concerns you, that perhaps isn't the priority. I would agree. But it becomes the social aspect when you're infringing upon other people's rights and freedoms and lives. They have the right to stop you. We have the right to protect our freedoms and our rights and what's comfortable and whatnot for us. I mean, a subscriber, you ignore my messages, not good. A couple of your messages got retracted. It can be a respectable consistency. I recently found out, like, words were getting through the chat that previously would not have gotten through and should not get through. I went and looked at my settings. My moderation for chat was straight up turned off. Why? Why was it turned off? Why would you ever turn it off? So I guess that's something that I need to keep an eye on now and make sure it's on. Hello, love your lives. Can you shout out to my brother? That guy. Shout out to that guy. Shout out to that guy. And shout out to you. And shout out to this. We can't say that murdering others is objectively wrong, correct? But we sure can all agree to put a stop to it. That's pretty much what it is. Okay, so it's bad for me to infringe on others' enjoyment. Why should they be allowed to infringe on mine? It's a good question. It's a good question. I think it ultimately comes down to the fact that we are social creatures. And the society is, if you're infringing on the rights of others, to an extent, you should lose some rights. If you're going out and attacking and killing others, you should be locked up. If you're not respecting the system, why should we respect you? And especially when you're overall doing it on a larger scale and we could just lock you up and protect all these people, that makes sense to me. But yeah, that's still a good point. For people who don't care about others, the only thing left to do is to use force to stop them and enforce the things everyone else cares about and that we care about. Yeah. You have an Instagram, your Instagram, I'd follow you. It's in the, if you look at the description on my channel, they're all listed. I also think it's pinned to the top of my channel somewhere too. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, it's just at the top of my channel. In theory, it's possible for two different people to exist in entirely different moral paradigms where there is no value in common through which they can reach a compromise. In reality, I would say that's very rare and perhaps not possible. Okay, so I don't know what you're going through, good or bad, but I want you to know Jesus loves you. Cool. Because if your enjoyment involves doing harm or even doing a nuisance sometimes, then you have crossed a mutually agreed upon border. In a functional society, we enforce that boundary as a law. I think that's a better answer. See, this is one of the reasons I like doing the live chats, because sometimes you guys have better answers than I do. And I like that. I don't have a great answer for everything. Sometimes you guys do. Jesus Christ is God. I will prove any argument wrong. Okay. I mean, stick around. We might give one if you want. I mean, you've come to the right place, you know, if you want to have that discussion. And that's another thing with objective morality. I don't believe in objective morality. Even if there's a God, technically I don't believe in objective morality, because if there was a God or a creator being, morality would just be the subjective opinion of that creator being. So technically there just wouldn't be objective morality anyway. But through our 200,000 year human history, possibly even before that, before we were humans, before our ancestors were humans, we evolved a system of ethics as we learned how to work together, as we learned how to deal with one another, and work together for the betterment of a society and the individuals in that society, including ourselves. And there are systems that we have agreed upon that seem to work. It seems like overall morality seems to be based on overall well-being, longevity of life, health, safety, happiness, things like that. And I think those are some good bases to go off of. And there's some flexibility there, obviously. Like, the best thing for you might not be something that makes you happy, at least not at that moment. But it's something that's still good for you and overall improves your overall well-being and longevity of life. It sucks, but the rule of might is what it comes down to when all else fails. That doesn't mean being mighty or powerful makes you good. It's just necessary in order to enact good. It's not good in and of itself. Yeah, perhaps. I think it's more of a consensus thing, because I don't really like the idea of might makes right. Jesus did not fulfill any messianic prophecies, and also argued with a guy about washing his hands before eating. Well, there you go. There's someone for you to argue with. You guys can fight over that. Nazi society. The Nazis told their citizens to turn in Jewish people. So in the functioning society, should we have turned in those Jewish people? That goes against kind of an overall agreement of health, well-being, longevity of life, equal human rights. Because remember, every single human on this planet is a human just like you. So if you have any rights or anything, they should too. What should I get pierced tomorrow? My eyebrow or my septum? That's a tough one. I feel like those two are kind of like in the same category in terms of like tiers. Like ears pierce is like pretty basic, I feel like. And like nose pierce is like right behind it. I feel like eyebrow and septum are like somewhere in like the same like tier. I think it depends on if, I don't know. Especially if you want to get both of them done either way, I think it would just depend on which one you want first. For me, if I wanted to get them both done anyway, I'd probably choose the more visible one first. And then go with the septum piercing if I can't maybe afford both of them at once. If it has to be one or the other, just whichever one you want more, I guess. I don't know. This is my opinion. As it relates to that, God's moral paradigm is subjective too. It's not inherently good. It's just that he has massive amounts of power to enforce it. Yeah. The Creator made the universe and every logical path to survival. Then he also created morals and ethics. It's objective. It's according to his own subjective. It's a subjective base at most, and that's assuming he exists, of course. Yeah, it's at most a subjective base with objective morals based on that base. Kind of like human well-being is a subjective base. It's a subjective thing for us to base our morals and ethics on. But there are things that objectively are for and against that base. So if we agree on our subjective base of human well-being, shooting someone in the head objectively goes against that base. It would be objectively morally wrong according to that subjective base. So in the case of God, it's God's own subjective ideas on what the universe should look like, how he wants life to be, what he thinks morals and ethics and reason and purpose and all this stuff should be. So it's his subjective ideas and opinions. And the world would just use that as an objective, as a base to base more objective morals off of. Like if our purpose is to glorify God, that's God's subjective purpose that he's put on us. But there are things that objectively go for and against that purpose. If that makes any sense. It isn't objective. Something that's objective is demonstrable the same way math is demonstrable. 1 + 1 = 2. Objective, culturally, influence societal norms, subjective. 1 + 1 = 2 is objective. Culturally influence societal norms, subjective. I would agree. Given how ethics work in reality, he designed the system to undermine his own enforcement. So either he didn't create morality or he's an idiot. I mean, yeah, he kind of doesn't stand up to his own standards in the Bible either. He's just kind of, it's a different conversation, perhaps. Doom posted something in the Discord. There it is. There it is. There it is. You guys don't even know what I'm looking at because most of you aren't a part of the Discord. Can't help you. Saying it's subjective because it's from his opinion isn't true, though, because as God, he makes subjective realities just by speaking. There's no context or space for him to subjectively create things. So I would agree if he sets, say, morality, then we have within the world, within human system, it is objective morality based on God and what he wants, but it is still his subjective opinions. And especially if he's an all-knowing, wise, whatever being, he shouldn't be limited to not having context or space for him to subjectively create things. He shouldn't be limited by things like that. The Bible seems to contradict the logical axioms we've discovered about reality, like the law of non-contradiction, which states two things cannot be true at the same time. Yeah, the Bible can be kind of a mess like that. Moral compass is academic person you. His ethics can't be subjective and objective at the same time. I would agree. You said you were joining, and then academic persons showed up. Either way, happy to see academic. Apparently, I'm not because I can't even pronounce the name. I also apparently can't. I'm having a mental fit here. Okay. Completely lost the plot on how Discord is ran. Okay. That's my name from like 2 years ago. I'm switching it. Oh no. Yeah, go ahead and switch it. I mean, it's up to you. It's whatever. Academic person. I think it's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. To each their own. And a pitchfork. I don't have my pitchfork up. How will Satan bless my live streams if I don't have my pitchfork up? Just can't have it. Just can't have it. If you agree that it could possibly be objective in the limitations of this world, then shouldn't you believe that based on the fact that you are completely limited in this universe? Sorry, one more time. If you agree, hello Mixed, if you agree that it could possibly be objective in the limitations of this world, it could possibly be objective in the limitations of this world, then shouldn't you believe that based on that fact, you're completely limited in this universe? I mean, I'm limited in the universe. I don't know if I'm understanding the question. I think that's 100% my problem. I'm limited in this universe. If we are to suppose that God's nature is the very definition of good, that's proposing a system of objective ethics, intrinsically defined right and wrong. But observable reality doesn't work like that. A person can value completely different things from another person, and there's no logical recourse. Because values aren't facts, and facts aren't values. The fact-value distinction is a well-known and documented phenomenon. Yeah. Just because there's disagreements doesn't mean it isn't a true fact of the matter. Kind of does, actually. Because if this thing says this thing is the truth and the fact, and this thing says that this thing is the truth and the fact, then which one's the truth and the fact? You can shuffle words around and cobble together a stack of philosophical ideas dressed up as Yahweh, but you cannot demonstrate objectively that this or that is moral. Perhaps. Perhaps. In math and science, we disagree about facts all the time. It doesn't mean one of those viewpoints or an undiscovered one isn't correct. Correct, but that's not quite how the contradictions in the Bible are working. You're right, the true fact of the matter seems to suggest subjective ethics is how reality works. So if we are still to suppose the Bible is true at all, God is either not all-powerful or he's stupid. Perhaps. Yeah, and is science objective truth or relatively rare compared to the abundance of observations? Science is our attempt to understand how the universe objectively works. Because the universe just does, there are some objective truths. The universe does operate in a certain way. So, science is our attempt to understand that. And it's possible that we could have fallen short of that understanding. So I wouldn't really say like, oh, science, we're objectively right, because you can never know anything for complete certainty. But there is an objective truth of how the universe works to be understood and to be found out. I am an atheist. In science, there's no such thing as objective truth. The highest form of truth is called the theory, because it intrinsically includes the possibility of being wrong, correct. You can't know for certain that anything is true, correct. Somebody commented on one of my last videos, if there's not an afterlife, my isn't it fun? Isn't that fun? There's nothing after this. What an afterlife without God would look like, just nothing. I say, in that case, the universe could have just not happened. Why are we even alive when we are better off being lifeless as a rock? What is the meaning of life then? And that second question we're discussing, but the other ones, the universe could have just not happened. I mean, as far as we know, this is the only way that it could have happened, so I don't really have like another reality to test to see like how things could have been different or how the universe could have not formed. As far as I know, this is just how it was. Why are we even alive when we would be better off as lifeless as a rock? I don't know. I think existing is pretty good compared to not existing. I think it's a few steps above not existing, personally. I mean, there are some days where I wonder, I debate with myself on which one would be better. But train of thought. There are some days, oh yeah, my depression. There are some days where I debate on like what would be better, but I think overall existing is preferable to not existing. Science is not all true. No, science gets things wrong. And then it learns and it grows and it tweaks things and it gets better and closer to some kind of objective truth. I would hope. But of course, there is objective truth, but we just can't prove it undoubtedly correct. Wait, can I simply say moral relativism as a moral system is wrong, and I'm just as right as someone who says the opposite? Wouldn't that violate the law of non-contradiction? Not necessarily. Because it seems like what we're having is a conflict of opinions. I can simply say moral relativism as a moral system is wrong, and I'm just as right as someone who says the opposite. Would that violate the law of non-contradiction? No, because it's just social opinions. It's like saying, spaghetti is yummy, and then somebody else saying no, it's not. Obviously, on a kind of a bigger scale, um, but it's not like objective reality, I would say. Yes, science is not all true. We're learning and uncovering and trying to get things right, one step at a time. I am behind on chat. Oh no, I'm behind on chat. Oh no, I'm behind on chat. I'm gonna skip chat. If I skipped your thing, I'm sorry. Just put your thing again. Just put your chat again if you want me to see it. I would tend to agree that nitpicking the insanely unlikely possibility that somehow there is not salt in the ocean. That somehow there is not salt in the ocean because the laws of physics don't prevent us from being in a dream or whatever is silly. Yeah, I mean, there's like, we can't know anything for certain. We can't. We could all just be a brain in the vat, in the matrix, whatever. You could be the only thing that's actually real, and all the rest of us could just be like figments of your imagination or something. But there's nothing we can do with that. At the present time, we can't really falsify or confirm that. So we just kind of go throughout trying to understand the universe from our senses. Just the only thing that we have to observe and collect data. And to hope that that will work, because it's just kind of all we got to go off of. You believe in aliens? I'd like to believe that they're out there. I'd be shocked if there wasn't, but we haven't really found them. What's in Area 51 in the Bermuda Triangle? Who knows? I am an atheist. Our planet is not the only known planet. There are quite literally quadrillions of planets or more. So that's kind of my thing. It's like with all this galaxies and solar systems and stars and planets out there, and the fact that the things needed for life seem to be absolutely everywhere, it would blow my mind to learn that we are the only life in the universe. But we haven't found life elsewhere yet, so can't really be sure. Could there be different dimensions? Maybe. What's keeping me from believing in God? I don't have any reason to believe in a God. And whenever I give that answer, I always kind of feel like an asshole, because it's such, it's an answer, it's not a great answer, but it's the answer. I don't have any reason to believe there is a God. That's just kind of all it is. We are just as purposeless as everything else. We decided what matters ourselves. Nothing else gave us purpose. I agree. Haven't you watched Heated Rivalry? First off, who says I haven't? And second off, did you tell me to? Because I forgot. What if God appeared to you? I don't know. Especially in today's modern age, how do I know it's not a hologram or a hallucination or, X, Y, and Z? But I like to say, especially with gods like the Christian God, the Triomni God, an all-knowing God would know what it takes to convince me. An all-powerful God would be able to do what it takes to convince me. And an all-loving God who wants a relationship with me would want to do what it takes to convince me. And he hasn't. So, I don't know what it would take, but he does. So, if he's real. So, the ball's kind of in his court. Does relativism just collapse into moral nihilism? I think a lot of stuff can collapse into nihilism. Why it's temporary, it's because he is coming back. Sure. But you aren't scared of what will happen in the future? Because science does prove that the Earth and Sun are temporary. Yeah. We all die. I mean, sorry to spoil the ending, but whether there's a God or not, we're all gonna die, and the planet's gonna die, and the sun's gonna die, and the universe is probably gonna die, and kind of sucks, but like we're here now, and I think that puts forth even more motivation to live life to the fullest, knowing that this life is finite and we don't know if anything comes after this life or what that something would be. So it's best for us just to live life to the fullest while we can. But if you need to be the one that needs to find, but if you need to be the one that needs to find God, life on Earth will become uninhabitable in at most 1 billion years, possibly earlier, but hundreds of millions of years is such an unfathomable amount of time that it really means nothing. Yeah. In practice, that's a non-issue. Yeah, it's not really my problem. But, like, we are going to die. That is, like, that's a more imminent thing. I'm really upset that I'm, like, not going to be around. What is it? When is Andromeda? Hold on. I want to. When is Andromeda supposed to collide with the Milky Way? Is it 4 billion? Four to 4.5 billion years, our nearest galaxy, the Andromeda Galaxy, will collide with the Milky Way. I want to be around in like 2 to 3 billion years, where you look up at the sky and there's just like a big galaxy there. Just big, beautiful, just right there taking up the sky. I think that'd be amazing. I think that would be so cool. And like, it's not gonna hit us for like another billion years. Like, it's probably, it doesn't even matter. You can still enjoy it. It just looks cool. I like Betelgeuse. When Betelgeuse goes supernova, it's supposed to be able to like light up the sky to where you can read by its light. I want that. I want to see that. And Betelgeuse is one of those. It's already dead, but it's so far away that like we haven't seen it die yet. Hold on. When will Betelgeuse go supernova? So it's sometime in the next 100,000 years. That's such a small increment of time in the grand scheme of things. And it really is between like now and then. And it's like, can it be now? Like, what are the odds? It's not going to, but like, can it be now? I want to see it. I want to see something cool happening in the sky. Whatever. Science, fortunately, has not found a way to keep us around long enough to worry about the sun's death. Fortunately, but it's going to be somebody's problem someday. Saying the world is going to end, oh no, is like trying to live out mediations from Descartes. Maybe. Can you point me to something that's been created, has a beginning, and doesn't have a purpose? Something that's been created, has a beginning, and doesn't have a purpose. The universe, at least our current model of the universe, our current presentation of the universe, seems to have been created by something. Sometimes the word created kind of muddies the water because sometimes it implies like intelligent creator, but just made. I like that you put in quotes, had a beginning, started, came into being, was made to be by something, whatever. So yeah, the universe. I am behind on chat. I'm going to skip chats. I'm sorry. If you want me to see your chat, just put it again. $226 years from what? Are you trying to give the AD thing? From when the Gregorian calendar decided to start AD. Yeah. I really hope, I'm going to go ahead and give a rebuttal, whether it's what you're saying or not. But if you're giving the whole, of course, Jesus' death and life and whatnot is so important that we've literally based our calendar off of it, our years off of it, with the BC and AD. So, 2026 years from what? We literally base BC and AD off of it. For that, I would encourage you to look up how we named the days of the week, the months of the year, and the planets in our solar system. we name things and base things off of things that were important at this point or time or another. Uh, that does not necessarily mean that it's all true. Like, we literally named the planets in the solar system after the Roman gods. Like, okay, we got the years, we got BC and AD from, this event with this Jesus guy. All these celestial, heavenly bodies, these entire planet worlds floating around in space around us were named after the Roman gods. So, like, I think they got us beat a little bit. Which, by that logic, if it's so important, then I think obviously the Roman gods are real. I think they kind of win in that little context. The universe might have not happened. We don't really know. We don't understand how universes are made, only what exists inside our particular universe. Yeah. And we barely understand that. Newer models suggest the universe never began, but its current iteration had an origin event giving form to all the matter and energy we see. Yeah, that's why I say when I talk about like our universe, I talk about like the current presentation of the universe, because it could have existed in different forms and whatnot throughout, but what we currently have. Somebody posted on TikTok, you're presuming, again on my existential post, you're presuming that the brain creates consciousness. It's possible that it doesn't, I guess. Maybe consciousness comes from a soul. Maybe it comes from, aliens beaming a consciousness into our craniums. But the best explanation we have for consciousness right now seems to be chemical reactions in the brain. So that's just kind of what I'm leaning towards. The Big Bang might not be the birth of the universe, but a moment in some sort of cycle or pattern or continuation with something before. Yeah, it's the start of our current presentation of the universe, I would say. Have you felt more or less fulfilled without God? Are you filling the spot that was once there with other things? I'm going to be honest with you. I was a devout Christian for the first 20 plus years of my life. I was on God's side. I was a warrior for God. I was, willing to fight and spread his message and all this stuff. I dedicated myself to him. I wanted to become an apologist, an activist for Christianity, to spread God's light, love, and message to the whole world if I could. And it was in that process of studying to do that I ended up losing my faith. So, I was in it. Every day, all day, every day, for God, praying throughout the day, trying to make sure my steps aligned with his path, thinking that I had a genuine relationship with him and that he was interacting with me and giving me signs and stuff throughout the day to help guide my path. I was in it. I've never understood the hole in your life thing. I've never understood that. When I left Christianity, it wasn't something's missing now. It was nothing was missing. I never had that missing piece feeling. Life just became different for me, and my understanding of life became different, and my beliefs of life became different. And I was able to find fulfillment, to seek my own purpose, and to go after the things that I felt mattered most, which I would say was more fulfilling in the long run, personally, subjectively. But I never really had that hole. I'm gonna be honest. Shut up, kid. No.
That's mean.
What did you find that made you leave faith? That there really is no reason to believe in anything supernatural? that there's no reason to believe in a God or an afterlife or anything like that. There's no evidence for it. Also, even if there is a God or something, if it's the God of the Bible is kind of a monster, so I wouldn't want to follow him anyway, no matter what he offers me or threatens me. So that was what got me, I don't feel empty. So that's what got me away from Christianity. And that was kind of the process. To really kind of dumb it down, I mean, we're talking about a 7-year process for going from devout Catholic to atheist. That's what kind of part of the process was, to really dumb it down. Again, it was a little bit more to it than this. But a big part of it was, from a Christian biblical Word of Jesus Christ standpoint, Catholicism ain't it. I didn't think Catholicism was it. And then upon further studying the Bible and the biblical God, kind of a monster. Kind of don't want to vibe with this one. This guy's kind of a monster. But like, I believed in this other God. And like the God that I firmly believed I had a relationship with, that I thought at one time was the Christian God, is too loving and whatnot to be this thing in the Bible. So that can't be it. That can't be the right God. So I followed this idea that I had of a God out of Christianity. And then because of just how terrible Christianity was and the Bible was, and then I continued going down the path and eventually realized I didn't have any reason to believe in a God. And the God that I believed in and was following at that time was just a God that I had pretty much made up loosely based on the Christian God. And eventually I was able to come to terms with the fact that I have no reason to believe in it. And therefore, I don't actually believe. I lost my belief. It's really dumbed down. There's like a 50 or so minute live stream. I think it's live stream like number 9 or something. That's my deconstruction story. You can go and look at that. That's like the best rundown of my deconstruction story that I can provide for you. But yeah. You were right, the singularity exploded is basically how it shook out. What from the universe took prior is unknown, but there are theories. However, it's increasingly believed there was something. Yeah, maybe. How is he a monster? I mean, Christian is different than Catholic. Catholicism is just another flavor of Christianity. Also, Jesus, God gave you everything you have today, including a heartbeat, working eyes, loving family, and even more than you can imagine. And if that's true, that's great. But like, we need to talk about all the dead babies in the Bible. We need to talk about the young unmarried girls who were taken as sex slaves. We need to talk about the foreskin thing. We really need to talk about the foreskin thing. And I know that's not a big objective moral thing, but it's just like, buddy, what's with the dicks? Why are you so fascinated with what people's dicks look like and what that says about them? There's stuff that we need to talk about in the Bible, because the God of the Bible is kind of an egotistical, manipulative monster who supports things like genocide, slavery, misogyny, and child abuse. So, what makes the Gospels unreliable in your opinion? Eyewitness and second to eyewitness testimony, sources outside of Christianity that affirm the same events or the resurrection, etc. There are no extra biblical sources that confirm anything other than, hey, I heard about this Jesus dude. It's about all the extra biblical sources have. There are no confirmed eyewitness testimonies in the Bible. It is a book of claims, so that haven't been verified. Try not to get behind on chat. If the universe is a result of blind, unguided physical processes, why should we trust the thoughts produced by a brain aimed at survival rather than truth, including and thought that atheism is true? Why should we trust the thoughts produced by a brain aimed at survival rather than truth, including the thought that atheism is true? Why should we trust anything? How can we trust anything? How can we trust our own senses? How do we know we're not just in a matrix? How do we know any of this is real? Why is there something instead of nothing? Who's to say that it could have been any other way? Maybe this is just the only way that the universe could have turned out. I have no idea. There's also the puddle analogy. You know, if there's a pothole on the road and it rains, and the pothole is filled with water, and it creates a puddle, and that puddle, if it were to gain sentience, might think, oh, this pothole, this hole was made perfectly for me in mind. It was designed exactly for me. And then it might think, oh, well, therefore, there must be some kind of creator who has my best interest in heart and has designed this world for me, and everything's going to be okay. Even as the sun comes out and the puddle starts drying up and evaporating, getting smaller and smaller, it still thinks that it has been created by something and it is being taken care of, and that nothing bad can happen, because look at this hole in the ground that's been perfectly formed for me, until, much to its surprise, it finally completely evaporates and disappears. Was the universe made to be this way, or is this just how the universe came about? Is the universe the way that it is just because that's just how the processes made it? And are we the way that we are because we were created to be this way, or was the hole made for the puddle, or did the puddle fit to shape the hole as it was filling the hole, as the water was filling the hole? Who's to say? I mean, really. If God is real, then that means Satan is as well. If Satan's goal is to lead people to hell, he's not going to say, I'm Satan, follow me to hell. He wants to pose as God or a priest to damn you. Can't trust anything, I guess. Yes, but God doesn't have to give you an explanation. Cool. I guess he doesn't. He says, I don't have to explain myself. I can do whatever I want. He gives pain to strengthen faith. There should be better ways. Well, he is having his people / Jews be different. But the dicks. Why the dicks? I'm going to skip some chats because I'm behind. I'm sorry. We live in an imperfect world. It's not the best. Sure, I don't think he is a monster. Adam, the representative of all man, he sinned, so all man is born with sin. It also made pain in the world. That is why babies and sex slaves exist. That's not God. So God creates Adam and Eve. Naive new creation. He does not give them the knowledge of good and evil. He puts that knowledge in a fruit and says, don't touch that fruit. And then he walks away. This all-present, all-knowing, all-wise being walks away. Or just like stands off to the sidelines. While this cunning serpent, which he also created and put in the garden with his naive new creation, tempted his naive new creation to eat the fruit. And since his naive new creation did not have a knowledge of good and evil with which to inform their decision, a knowledge of good and evil that may have told them, hey, God told us not to do this, so listening to him is good and listening to this serpent is bad, they didn't have that knowledge. So when God's young, naive new creation was tempted by this great tempter, they inevitably failed, all while God was, sitting off to the side eating popcorn? It was all his fault to begin with. And does anything go against God's plan? Is anything against God's plan? Did he create everything as it is supposed to be, knowing how it would be? Everything is his fault. Everything is his fault. And especially in the garden. Jesus is king. I didn't vote for him. There are many things to be dissatisfied about in life, but that isn't about religion. That's just general life satisfaction. I skipped some chats, please forgive me. I'm trying to keep caught up. What would it take for you to believe God is real? He gave Adam and Eve free will. He gave Adam and Eve free will. He gave Adam and Eve free will, did not give them the knowledge of good and evil, and then put a tempting serpent in the garden with them. Sounds like it's all his fault. Christ has a blueprint. So it's all his design. It's all his design. Is that your fault as dad or your kids? I'm not the all-powerful creator being of the universe that decided what kids are and what DNA is and what actions are possible. A father is just a human that gives birth to children that are just humans. We're talking about the all-powerful God being of the universe that created everything when there was nothing. That's not a comparison. As a father, you're meant to guide your children. If you don't guide them and they get in trouble, that's on the father. This is true. I can see that. You see how he refuses to read comment? He can't help someone who doesn't want to. That's just simple. Chat's moving too fast. I've apologized that for multiple times. And I've said multiple times that if you have something to say that I skipped when I skipped ahead in chat, please post it again so that I can see it. But I can't be sitting back here reading chats while chat is like 30 messages ahead of me, especially if I'm trying to have a conversation with people in chat. But yes, keep taking shots at me. Try to attack my credibility by taking ad hominem attacks and strawman attacks at me. It'll be great. It works out every time. Guys, Drew is trying his hardest to read it. Just be patient. I really am. In a perfect world, I would read chat every single one and I would have a conversation one-on-one with every single one of you. But that's just not how things are going to work. If you aren't open to the idea of something to change your mind about it, then I don't know what to tell you. I never believed when I was a Catholic, but now I am a follower of Christ, not a Catholic. You never believed when you were a Catholic? Sounds like you weren't a Catholic. You didn't even believe in a God when you were a Catholic. And who's to say I'm not open? Maybe your arguments just aren't that compelling to me. Maybe I've been doing this for a couple of years and have heard a lot of different arguments and have tried finding good arguments, really tried finding good arguments, even longer than 2 years for the existence of a God, and find them all lacking. I'm open to whatever, but I'm not just going to believe something. I would like to have reason to believe. God created everything good, but he wanted to be loved freely, so he had to allow the possibility of rejection. So it's not his fault. He didn't create the devil as a devil. He created him as an angel. He created, this all-powerful, all-knowing being, created knowing things would be the way that they are. If you want to justify his actions, that's a whole different discussion. But everything good and bad can be blamed on him. Without him, there would be nothing. And we can again try to justify his actions, but without him, there would be nothing. He came in and made something. So everything that happens in that something after that fact points back to him. That's just how it makes sense to me. Believe somebody even when they don't want to. And this chat is moving slow. Don't try to guilt trip, buddy. I can't help you, dude. I can't help you. Especially when I'm trying to give detailed answers to everyone and have an actual conversation. 5 chats going by is a lot. It takes me time to read through those. And then in that time, 10 more show up. Sorry. I can't. Literally, I've tried. And as I read, chat just keeps piling up faster than I can read through and properly respond to each comment. If you're that pressed about it, I skipped ahead again. Because as I was explaining that to you, I got like 10 more chats. It is inevitable. It was basically still right now. Right this second it is. But as I was reading, 10 more came in. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep my screen at the bottom of chat. You would shoulder part of the blame, but unlike God, you aren't all powerful. There are some things beyond your control. Nothing is beyond God's control. Yeah. Don't make me crawl through the screen. Do it. What sins do you have the biggest issues with in the Bible? What sins? I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand what the question is. I don't really know if I'd have a number one, but like, we can talk about how if a man forces himself on a woman and they're like in town and she doesn't cry out, the man and the woman both need to be stoned to death because she should have just cried out for help, knowing that she was in the town, and she didn't. So she brings sin upon herself and has to be stoned to death. That was pretty fun. That was something. The dude who got stoned to death collecting sticks. That's something. That's something. What verse is that? Give me just a second. Deuteronomy 22:27. It might go to 28 after that. Around there. Because there's two parts. There's, if the man found a young woman in the country, and though the betrothed woman screamed, there was no one here to rescue her. So it doesn't matter if she screamed or not, because she's alone. You know? But if she was in the city, either right before or right after that verse, and she doesn't cry out, then she should be stoned to death. Basically, the Bible has many laws that we have to follow. Sure. Wait, did you just read the verse before in the context? I just saw a short. What's the context that I'm missing? Bye, Drew. Sub. God bless you. Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you for the sub. What's the context that I'm missing? What's the context that I'm missing? I really want to know what context that I'm missing. I'm also probably going to end the live stream soon, just to let you guys know. All religions have cult behavior. When you follow without question, you are the sheep the shepherd wants, perhaps. Read the 3 verses before it. Okay. What was that verse again? 27, 22? 22, 27. All right. We're going to read. I'll use this one. We're going to read the verses. The 3 verses before it, they're going to make everything okay. But let's do it. I already forgot. It's Deuteronomy 22, 27. All right, 22:27. So 3 verses before that was 27. So start at 24. We'll start at 22, just to make sure I give it plenty of context. If a man is caught lying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die. The man who lay with the woman as well as the woman. So you shall purge the evil from Israel. If there is a young woman, a virgin, already engaged to be married, and a man meets her in the town and lies with her, you shall bring both of them to the gate of the town and stone them to death, the young woman because she did not cry for help in the town, and the man because he violated his neighbor's wife. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. But if the man meets the engaged woman in the open country, and the man seizes her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. You shall do nothing to the young woman. The young woman has not committed an offense punishable by death, because this case is like that of someone who attacks and murders a neighbor. Since he found her in the open country, the engaged woman may have cried for help, but there was no one to rescue her. Did the context save it? Did the context save it? It's not about rape. It's about adultery. It's not about rape. It's about adultery. It's not about rape. It's about adultery. If the young woman, a virgin, already engaged to be married, and the man meets her in the town and lies with her, you shall bring both of them to the gate of the town and stone them to death, the young woman because she did not cry for help in the town, and the man because he violated his neighbor's wife. Why would she be crying for help if it wasn't grape? Why would she be crying for help if it wasn't grape? What? Because she's allowing it. I might have to ban you. I might have to ban you. She's not crying for help. You have absolutely no idea how these cases work and the mentality of a man forcing themselves on a woman, especially in this time when women are basically a step above property. And if she were to cry out, he could have done so many other things. Like, it's just the mentality and the psychology tells me that you have not even tried to understand how grape cases work and how they affect the victims. That's a lot, buddy. That is a lot. That quote entirely neglects the existence of sexual assault situations where women feel like they have to stay silent or suffer worse consequences. Yeah. It's the wording and understanding. I'm sure there's some misunderstanding, because there has to be misunderstanding, because the Bible can't just say terrible things. The Bible can't just say terrible things. The Bible can't just say terrible things. RM, that's a good suggestion. That's a good suggestion. You know what? I like that, RM. I like that. I like that suggestion. Let's see. Exodus 20. No, Exodus 20. Exodus. Is it 21? 20 through 21? Is that what you're trying to say? I think this is something else. 20 through 21. Yeah, I think what you're referring to, and what I'm going to read, because I think it's great. When a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod, and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is its owner's property. Exodus 21, 20 through 21. So if the slave dies right then and there, it's a problem. But if he gets up after a day or two, it's fine, because it's his property anyway. It's great. He's willingly misinterpreting it. Give me the context that saves it. Willfully misinterpreting it, and that's why he threatened to ban. No, I threatened to ban because I'm not going to sit here and let somebody victim shame grape victims. That's why I threatened to ban. All we can do is pray for him. I don't know God's plan. Or you can pray for me all you want, but if you're going to try to victim blame grape victims, I'm going to have to put my foot down pretty strongly. Abrahamic faith isn't monotheistic. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam isn't the same. Every Jew, Christian, Muslim makes up their own interpretation. Religion is evidence they do not know who this daddy is. Maybe. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're saying. You spoke a different language. Drew, damn it, you got to get together with more people who are deeper into it so you can have deeper understandings because they dig to the root. Sure. Send them my way. Send them my way. Thoughts on Iran freedom? I'm not big into politics. I think that all the fucking war and shit in the Middle East kind of needs to stop and everyone needs to go into their own lanes and kind of live in peace. But, you know, that's just me. You have to want to. I want to learn. I'm open. I have an open mind. I'm open to learn anything and everything. It's not in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Oh, you're trying to like say a blessing. That's fine then. Verse 23-24 is about consensual, why they didn't cry for help. The next verse 26 talks about grape and says only the man should be stoned. But it says even if she cried out in the field, no one would be able to hear her. Should just at least go to church for one day, not to a Catholic though. I actually do want to go visit other churches. I don't have the time to. But that is on my to-do list, is to go to different denominations, different churches, just to get that experience, just to see how it works. So that is on my list. What is wrong with the Catholic Church? A lot. It's the end of the live stream. It's towards the end of the live stream. I know when I left Catholicism, just in favor of, you know, non-denominational Christianity, I did not feel that Catholicism upheld the teachings of Jesus Christ in the way that I believed it should be. Yeah, we get it. So if a woman is held at knife point or is silenced, somehow she still dies because Bronze Age dudes would rather kill their wife than suffer rumor she cheated, even if they know better. Maybe. With that, I do need to go ahead and end the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the conversations, keeping chat going. I am always grateful to anyone who gives me even a second of their day. I really am. Don't move the stool. Because I'm a random nobody on the internet. You don't, you know, there's no, like, reason for you to stop and hang out. But some people do. Why did you grab that? See, I turned moderation back on YouTube, and now it just grabbed Catholic Church is true. Why? It held that for review and asked me to review it before posting it. Why, YouTube? Jesus. What's the monetization status? What do you mean? Your monetization? My monetization. About the same as it was. $899 public watch hours out of 3,000 or 4,000, depending on which one it goes with. So just got to keep going. But thank you, truly, for anyone who even stops by for a second and doesn't immediately scroll past. It's appreciated. What'd you hold this for review? Why would you hold that for review? Thank you. I'm always appreciative. Any likes, chats, supports, subscriptions, anything like that is really cool. Especially when I'm always appreciative if anyone just doesn't just scroll past the video. So thank you so much for being here. I usually go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at about 9:15-ish Central Standard Time, somewhere between 9 and 9:30. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. Have an amazing night.